everyone. Welcome to the Massimo Show. And yeah, this week we have a great guest because I got to tell you, it's one of the top producing brokers in New York City. It's also a long-term Massimo coaching client. The one and only Lev Mavashev, the principal of Alpha Realty. Look, Lev is the man. He's been a well-recognized, awarded designated broker in New York. So I want to get started right away. Lev, welcome to the Massimo Show.
Thank you, Rod. Wow, what an introduction. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, look, there's so much more to you. Glow Street multifamily influencer, obviously your co-star power broker in New York City, a Crane's notable real estate person. I think it was 40 under 40. You've got all the designations and awards that can be done. So you're obviously doing something right. Is that fair to say?
I like to think so, yeah.
Okay. Now, you didn't know this question was coming, but I ask everyone this question as the first question to break the ice. Who was Lev in high school? Who was that guy?
Oh, God. I'll tell you what, I was a bit of a nerd.
So was I.
I was into math. First of all, I did play football. I played linebacker.
Okay.
But other than that, I was a bit of a math and science nerd. I thought I would be in like math field, something in math. I was always interested in like engineering, but ultimately I went to college, went more the business route, but again, very technical accounting. By the way, I don't know why I did accounting, just my parents suggested accounting. I came from a very working class, middle family. My dad was an engineer. My mom was like a fashion design teacher. I thought I'd be more of an engineering or something more technical route, but I did accounting. I worked in accounting. I got my CPA, did Deloitte for a few years, and
Okay.
then but I always liked real estate. I was a big book reader. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and like
Rich
he
Dad,
talks a
Poor
lot about
Dad.
real estate. I loved real estate. I thought it was the best thing to building wealth and getting in building wealth. And I thought I was going to be more on the investment side. Part of my interest in real estate was, first of all, I didn't like accounting, so I had to get out, but I did my 2 years. I got my CPA, made my parents happy. And then I was like, all right, I want to get into real estate. I didn't know about investment sales, let's call it, right? But I started talking to people. I found out about investment sales and I heard somebody introduced me to this guy who was putting a team together at a small boutique firm. So I joined, I just jumped ship. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Maybe brokerage is the way to make money, find deals. I thought I was going to source my own opportunities by being a broker, source my own deals. I definitely didn't want to do accounting. I like to say I didn't want to count other people's money. I wanted to make my own money.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but I fell in love with brokerage and I've been a broker ever since.
Okay, so how many years
Uh,
have you been a broker?
it's 2010, 16 years already.
16 years. Okay,
2016
so in
years,
that
yeah.
first boutique firm, I mean, what were those? Do you remember what those days were like? 'Cause we have a lot of new to business folks also listen to these podcasts. So, what were those days like, and what did you do to make a difference and make an impact?
All right. So it was very like, even though I was working under a senior guy, I was very like, here's a book, here's a phone, start cold calling. Funny story. You know how people like, I've been cold calling for months before I got my first deal. Like on my first phone call, I got a deal. Started dialing. I was working in my territory was the Bronx. I picked up a phone, called the guy in the Bronx. It was a small, it was like a 18 unit apartment building. Called him up. Do you want to sell? He's like, yeah, I want to sell. I didn't know what to do at that point. I'm like, hold on. I put the phone down. I'm like, all right, guys, this guy wants to sell. What do I do? And the guy comes over to me. All right, relax. Ask him for the rent roll. Start getting information. And that's kind of, I didn't sell it, but I got in my first deal.
Right.
On a first phone call, first day, first deal. Yeah.
Incredible.
Uh,
That I don't think I've ever heard that in all the clients I've ever coached. Never heard that. Okay, so you went from this first boutique firm. What was your next step before you started Alpha? You made a couple steps. What was your next step after the boutique firm?
yeah. So afterwards, I stayed there. The guy I was working with left the business, but I was there for 5 years. 2 years into it, I felt like I needed a little more structure. I felt I wanted to be successful in it. I felt like I don't know, it can't be always cold calling like you call it, the transaction treadmill, you know?
Yep.
And I started doing deals my first year. So funny enough, I gave myself like a year. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this 12 months. Let's see what happens. And like 11th month, a few weeks into it, I closed my first deal. So I saw it as a sign from heaven that, okay, this could work out for me. So my deal the first year, like whatever, a few weeks away from my first year, I did my first deal. And then the next year afterwards, I think I did like 3 or 4 deals, and then I went on doing 6 deals. You know, thankfully I got into the habit. I got into the groove of this. But 2 years into it, I think know that you were doing that program, the group coaching, not the new
Yeah.
to business, but you had some group coaching. I forgot what it was called.
It was 2013. I don't know what we called it back then
Right.
either. I think if I recall, you just were eligible by a couple of weeks because we had a cutoff or something, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I was like whatever it was, 2 years and 2 months. I was like, am I eligible for this? Because I know you were pushing everybody under 2 years to do the new to
Right.
business, but I did not do that one. I did the group coaching, and it was an amazing program, by the way. After that, I realized what I was worth, and it's interesting. The most, I think, I got to tell you this. I don't know if I ever told you this. The most really impactful thing about that program was realizing how to calculate my worth. And it's not about what I made last year, it's about what I'm planning to make.
Not at all.
And for
Always.
me, it was like, all right, I'm planning, this is my goal, this is what I need, this is what I want to make. I got to act like I'm going to be making this year. I realized the worth of my time, and I hired an assistant on my own dime. Everybody at the company was a whatever, it was a boutique, but it was a big shop, and everybody was like, wait, Lev is hiring his own assistant? Like the guy is in the business for barely 2.5 years. But I hired my own assistant. That was the best. I think that was the best. I think that was the best thing that really like kind
Right.
of
Because
me to that, yeah, to that like next level.
that comes from that theory. It was actually one sentence I read in a book called Hyper Sales Growth by Jack Daly.
Yeah.
Good book, but the one I always, if I get one item nugget out of a book, it's worth my time. This one sentence said, if you don't have an admin, you are one. And that struck at me that when I read it, shoot, I don't have an admin. I'm doing all this crappy work. What am I doing? So I went and hired an admin immediately, like you did, right? And you
Right.
realize,
Yeah.
wow, your world now opens up. You're now doing bigger value tasks, creating bigger
Right.
wealth, bigger opportunities. So you learned early on. And look, a lot of people are afraid to make that move of spending money versus
Yeah.
investing in themselves. So you had the right mindset. So what was your next firm after this first boutique firm? What was your next firm?
So I stayed at this company for 5 years. I hired a couple associates under me. So I built a little team there.
Yep.
We broke out into new markets. The firm was mainly focused on Manhattan and Bronx, two boroughs. I broke out into another borough. Ultimately, I felt like ultimately I took my team and we were going to go elsewhere, but I couldn't find the right home. So I started my own company.
There you go.
So I
Okay.
started Alpha Realty in 2016, I believe it was, or
Okay.
seven.
So you're only in the business now for 5 years, and you
Yes,
said, I'm doing my own thing, right?
I'm doing my own thing.
I first left, believe it or not, like you, I left grad school. I worked for a consulting arm of Arthur Anderson, another large CPA firm.
Sure.
And then I went to a boutique firm like you. And after 3 years, I started my own firm. And people thought I was crazy. People go, what are you doing 5 years starting your own firm? Now, for me, it didn't work out. First, I ended up doing something else. But what's been the secret? What was the early success secrets for you? You're starting your own firm in the most competitive market in the world. Why were you successful?
First of all, I'll tell you what, I build relationships. I'm a very relationship guy, but I think what really I had a niche. Like I stayed in my lane. I'm a multifamily guy. I've always been doing multifamily. Look, the first few months I did dabble into, I'll call the guy that owns a retail shop or an industrial place. But you know what? I realized like that industrial guy doesn't care. You know what I mean?
Not
What
at
I
all.
sold, or that multifamily guy doesn't care that I sold a retail strip center or an industrial, you know what I mean, or an office building. Like you get on the phone, like, okay, what buildings have you sold? You know what I mean? So plus, I like buildings. I drive around, I look at apartment buildings. If like for me, I fell in love with the asset class. Let's call it that way. But I decided to specialize. I think that's what made me stand out. Versus at least a lot of the guys at this shop they were just doing whatever they could get their hands on. You know what I mean?
Now, is Alpha exclusive multifamily shop, or does it offer
We
services with other folks
No, we do multifamily.
exclusively?
We're exclusively a multifamily shop. Yes.
Okay, so after 5 years, you broke out and had a team of five, and you're building your own shop.
Yes.
But you also went through some pretty hard times during this last 15 years have not been all smooth, to
Oh,
say the least.
sure. Ups and downs. And I don't know, 2019, it was gut punch to the stomach with multifamily.
Yeah.
This is 2019 rent laws in New York City, if anybody doesn't know. They basically, the city decided to disallow rental increases on rent stabilized units. Meaning, if a rent stabilized tenant actually leaves, you cannot reset the rent to market. You got to keep that rent what it was. So it made it a very hard asset class to invest in, but there's different products within multifamily. rent stabilized housing. Yes, it's almost 50% of the housing stock in New York City, but that's a product within that asset class. There's free market, there's new construction, 421A buildings. So like everything else we pivoted, but also I got to tell you that's another thing that I think really made me realize how important it is to stay in your lane. A lot of people started moving around after the 2019 rent laws.
Yeah.
Not only investors, but brokers. And I felt like I caught a lot of the line market share during that time because I was also like, okay, should I pivot? Should I do something else? But man, these phone calls didn't stop. I realized I had clients that are like, all right, Lev, what do I do now? What is this thing worth now with all these? So I found myself busy being that advisor, which ultimately led to business because people that had to liquidate.
So we had 2019, and this is very important to everybody. He's a specialist. He stays in his lane. He focuses on the advisory role, being a resource and being resourceful. Two
Correct.
totally different things, by the way, they are. But so you were both. And then, of course, we had the pandemic. So when things slow down, you got that, then you got the pandemic. What was the one thing you did that allowed you, because Lev, a lot of people left the practice during the pandemic, no
Sure.
velocity at all. So what did you do to allow you not only continue, but to have some growth during these pandemic years of 2021? What did you do?
So I'll tell you what I did. Yes, right after the 2019 rent laws, we had in March of 2020, the city shut down with COVID. One simple thing I did was like just let everybody know, hey, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? And people like they appreciated it. Like, hey, Lev, you're here. You're not in Florida. No, I'm here. I'm sitting at my desk. That was a big thing because
It
like
was.
I had
It
literally had
was.
people calling me, be like, I think you're the only one. I think you're the only one in the business now. Maybe it was a little sad, but thankfully I was busy. I let my clients know that I'm here for them, and I think every market turmoil just like creates this like sense of not sense, but this volume of busyness for me. And I catch that. I feel like I catch that market share just to be of service for my clients.
Okay. And I know you re-engaged at Massimo around 18. You went on a one-on-one program, and you're still
Yes,
with us. You were getting
yes.
coached by Doug Maresca, correct? I think I'm right there,
I'm with
correct?
Doug.
Yeah,
Yes.
Doug. Without being commercial for Massimo, because I don't want this to be that, but you know, why coaching, Lev? You said early on you knew what you didn't know, but you continue to re-engage in coaching. You're very successful. You're a multi-million dollar producer. But so why do you still get coached?
I mean, listen, having a coach is important. I think I told you I was an athlete in high school. Like every athlete, you look at all the good athletes, they have coaches. And yes, I was on and off with Massimo, but I always felt like I needed that coach. And I think I haven't been off since 2018, correct? It's important to have that coach. I don't have a boss. I don't work at any big company where I'm reporting to, I don't know, even HR as to what my numbers are. So I think just having that person to even get once a month a phone call with my coach to go through my numbers, what I'm doing, what I could be doing, just helps me like kind of center myself and prepare, even just preparing for that phone call, looking under the hood, looking at my business. And yeah, and also to, okay, this is what I did, this is what I'm gonna do, and then have that coach follow up with me and kind of keep me accountable. Like I said, I don't have anybody to keep me accountable, but I think the most important thing is to have somebody to report to. I think it's very important. I think it keeps me on my toes in a way to make sure, because it's easy. We're all independent contractors. We all kind
Yep.
of eat what we kill. It's also easy to just get sidetracked or distracted with stuff. But I think that for me, that coach keeps me on track and focused with what I need to do and where I need to be.
Yeah, and I tell you, I appreciate that. I agree with you. It was John Wooden who actually was a credit for saying this. Do you know who John Wooden is, Lev?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. John Wooden said, for those who don't know, Google him, UCLA, one of the, before Coach K was known as the best coach in the world and probably had more championships than a coach in college basketball. But he said, look, the role of a coach is to make their players or clients do what they don't want to do to get what they want to get. And I've never found a definition more direct than that. Look, you're not going to do everything what it asks you to do, but it's going to help you grow. And have you found that to be true, Lev?
Yeah, absolutely. Like my coach will keep me on track. If he feels like, hey, there's probably somebody else on your team that could be doing that or should be doing that, he'll tell me right off the bat. And it's true. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about it. You're right. Let me restructure the role.
Let's talk about that. You said your team. So you left when you first started Alpha, you had 5 members, right? So how many folks do you have today?
My total team is 14, including support staff.
Okay. So you tripled the size of your team.
Yes, my team is triple the size now. Yes.
You say it's only 14. No, you've tripled the size of your team. It's a proportion of growth we always look at. So where's Alpha today? And more importantly, what's next for you? What's next for you? What are you focusing on right now in New York? And let's not go political. But I got to ask the question, with the new mayor in town, have you seen an impact at all from your clients as far as looking to make a transition or transaction? What are you seeing now?
So interestingly enough, yes, there was a bit of a concern with this mayor, but that was last year when in
Okay.
June, when it was clearly he was a Democratic primary and New York City almost always votes Democratic.
Always.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a hectic period in June, but I think by Labor Day everybody forgot about it, or not, whatever, kind of recalibrated and moved on. Right now, it looks like he's having quite of an opposite effect. We thought most investors are going to be fleeing the city. It's the opposite. I feel like more people are coming back to the city now. Every day I'm talking to investors that went out of state, whether it's 19, 20, whether it's right 19 or 20 or whenever, are now coming back at us. Partially is because prices really
Right.
adjusted to a point where,
Yes.
hey, New York City is an attractive entry point at this point. So we're seeing a flood of buyers coming back into the market. We're seeing a lot of foreigners coming into the market right now. So I think we are going to see a flood of transactions happen, transactions, not price improvements. Eventually it might lead to price improvements, but right now I think we're going to see a lot of transactions. What I'm doing now is I'm restructuring my team to be more. Right now we have some guys more like geographic focused, again still within multifamily, and some guys more like product focused. I think I'm restructuring to a point where we're moving more toward product, whether it's
Got it.
affordable, rent stabilized housing, or some of these core free market multifamily properties or new construction or tax abatement deals. So I'm restructuring my team to that. I'm also bringing
Okay,
in a
so
couple.
here's what I
Yeah,
just heard
go
you
ahead.
say, and this is very interesting. You specialize in multifamily,
Yeah,
but now you can create niche specialists within
correct.
the multifamily sector. Is that correct?
Correct, exactly.
Okay, this is so good. This is
So,
so good to hear this.
so
Look,
it goes back to what I said before. Like that multifamily owner doesn't care that I sold an industrial property. It's the same thing as that rent stabilized owner doesn't care that I sold a core, free market Park Avenue building to a group in Japan. You know what I mean? So in a sense, it's micro markets within the market. Again, it's products. I call it, it's products within the asset class, which is what I have my team focused on: products, specialize in products.
no, this is terrific. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, since everyone asked this question, I got to ask you the question. Where does, if at all, where does AI fit in the alpha spectrum of what you all do?
Where does AI fit in? So right now we are still, so we're using AI for our operations. Like we use AI for marketing. I have an AI assistant going through my emails and labeling what to respond to, what not to respond to.
Yep.
And we'll have maybe AI, if we have somebody requesting a deal info, we'll have an AI send them the deal. But we're not to a point where we have AI calling agents yet. We're exploring that. I know Massimo is making a big push for that.
This is so good. The three things you said by itself are significant. It must be saying, wait, he's doing what? You're having AI go through your emails and respond to the ones that should be responded to, and
Yeah,
just removing the ones that don't. You're having AI do your marketing. When we say do your marketing, what does that mean? Do your marketing.
it's writing copy. It's analyzing my posts and suggesting new posts. Not actually posting it. I actually do
Yeah, right.
somebody that has a post does the posting. Will recommend articles for me to comment on and post possibly. What else? It's doing our BOVs. It's doing our OMs right now. We literally have AI doing OMs for us. Obviously, we review them and finalize
Yes.
them. But yeah, if you're asking where I am in the spectrum of using AI, I had a consultant tell me that you're like in the top tier
Yeah,
of real
you
estate
are.
companies using AI. The only thing we don't have yet is, which I don't know how many people are actually doing it, but I've been pitched and we've tested it out before, is like having calling agents, like having
Yeah.
AI actually call prospects and stuff.
Yes.
We're not doing
And,
that
and
yet.
I'll just tell you, since you know this as a Massimo client, and because you have access to our Siri launcher platform, we are finding that tenants and investors have no issue having just text conversations with AI bots. It's been totally accepted now. The only difference is the elderly generation will not do it, and nor should they. But The call bots, although we finally got in compliance and because it's really tough to, that's not accepted yet in the marketplace. It just isn't. But Lev, I'm telling you, within the next 6 months, people are going to realize when I order a pizza, I'm talking to a bot, right? I am. So why not get the information when I need information on the building at my time, not the broker's time, but my time? That's only a few months away. It truly is. So you'll be there. I'm telling you, you're going to be there.
You're probably right. It's crazy how this AI, it grows. It learns and it grows and it improves by itself. I'm amazed at some of the stuff we have going on here.
So what's next for Alpha? You're doing all these niches. You're you're a leader in the marketplace. I mean, how old are you now, Lev?
41.
Oh, you're a kid. Cheese and crackers.
Stop it. I'm not.
You are.
I'm feeling old, Rod. I'm feeling old. I'm telling you.
I can have a kid your age. Cheese and crackers. Okay. Of course, I can't have a kid at 21, but that's okay. Lev, what's next for you? What's next for you? What's the big thing that Lev's saying? I'm excited about this. What are you excited about?
I'll tell you what, I am excited about. I'm putting together right now a capital markets group that's going to be focused on, it's more higher quality deals, $50+ million deals. I'm talking with my coach about that already, but I'm in the works of putting together this capital markets group. I'm bringing in this debt group to also help out our clients where they have that capital event where
Wow.
We're going to be, and we're doing that already. We have a few assignments already under our belt where we're guaranteeing a capital event in whatever it is in a few months, whether it's via a refinance or a sale. But it's going to be like this small elite group within my team that's going to be focused on larger stuff. And then I'm thinking of ways to scale and see if I could go more tri-state. We'll see.
You're going deeper in your niches.
Yes.
You're looking to expand in the marketplace as far as geographically. And now you're expanding as far as services provided to your clientele.
Yes.
And that's why he's the man. That's why Lev Mavashev is a market leader and a dominant broker in one of those competitive cities in the world. And this is what it is. Lev, any parting suggestions? Let's stay away from coaching. Any parting suggestions for our listeners? How can you, like yourself, become a dominator in your marketplace? What would you say?
Okay, so 2 things. I would say get on a team and find a niche. Find your lane. I think I forgot who said this, but it's easier being a big fish in a small pond versus trying to be a fish in the ocean. You know what I mean? I think I didn't have that when I was starting. I was like trying, especially my first year, I was trying out a bunch of stuff. But I'm like some of these guys that are with me and I keep on telling them, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I see them over a year, 2 years improve tremendously. When I look at guys that have been in the business, let's say 3, 4, 5 years versus the guys that have been with me for a year or 2. I think having that niche is so important.
I love it. It's great advice. Hell, I coach commercial real estate brokers. You can't get more narrow niche than that. So, Lev, I can't thank you so very much for your time today, but also more importantly, for all the years we've been humbled and honored for you working with us as a Massimo coaching client. So we'll continue the journey together and watch you grow and watch Alpha Realty just absolutely dominate New York. How about that?
Awesome. Wow. Thank you for the kind words.
Okay, Lev. Hey, Lev, hang on one second. Everyone, look, Lev gave you a lot of knowledge today. Think about some of the things he shared and watch the podcast notes. And then, as we say at Massimo, knowing isn't doing. There's a lot of value, but now you got to go out and you got to implement. So be a doer. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show.